Alright, grade 8, so we're doing division of algebraic expressions, something new. So pay careful attention, although it's quite simple. Just revision on how to divide a monomial by a monomial. And for that, we make use of the exponent's law for division, where when you divide by the same base, you subtract the exponent. If it's not the same base, you leave them as is. So divide this, remember you divide signs, then numbers, and then variables, each with their own rule. Okay, then on the examples, let's have a look. So a to the power of 11 is divided by a to the power of 3. So it says here where a to the power of 3 is not equal to 0, because if we divide by 0, the expression will be undefined. So it's a limitation that we put in place. So now we just say a to the power of 11 minus 3, since we're dividing by the same base. We can subtract the exponents, and then it's a to the power of 8. On to the next one. So you've done all of these kinds of expressions. Then for b, it's 20 divided by 6, but 20 can't quite divide by 6. So we can just simplify for those numbers by finding a highest common factor, divide into both 20 and 6. So that would of course be 2, leaving you with 20 divided by 2 is 10, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now you can clearly see it can't be simplified any further. Then for the x's, so it's 10 and 3, 10 in the numerator, 3 in the denominator. For the x's, the x to the power of 2 will minus 1 from the denominator and leave you with x to the power of 1 in the numerator, and so for the y's as well. It's y to the power of 3 and y to the power of 2 in the denominator. So 3 minus the 2 from the denominator leaves you with y to the power of 1 in the numerator. So just to relate this for you, we can go here. Basically, it's x squared is x times x, and y cubed is y times y times y, and that all is divided by x multiplied by y multiplied by y, since it's y squared. So if you want to divide, x divides by x to leave you 1. So just this x to the power of 1 remains. Then y divides by that y, the y in the numerator, but divides by that y in the denominator, and the y to the power of 1 in the numerator remains once again. So that's why it's 10xy divided by 3 as your answer. Now for polynomial division by monomial, just to recap, when you add fractions, you usually make each fraction of the expression you found the lowest common denominator equal to that, and then you end up with the same identical denominators. For example, look at this: half plus a quarter plus a sixth. We need to find the LCM for 2, 4, and 6. Yeah, that is that, of course, together 12. So create them all to become the same by multiplying in the step before that. Certain value. So we're going from this given first fraction, it would be you multiply by 6, second one you multiply by 3, third one you multiply by 2. But respectively, every time we multiply by the same value in the numerator to keep it equivalent, and then we end up by having 6 and 3 and 2 that we can add together, and that gives you 11/12. Okay, but now the whole idea is when we're dividing, we're doing the reverse process of this. See here, this is in the form 6 and 3 and 2 divided by 12. You're going to see what we do now when we do this whole process reversed. Polynomial divided by monomial. So when you're dividing that polynomial by monomials, you split up as such. So we have that B and C and D is all divided by A. So in other words, each one is divided by A as the common denominator that we had. So see how it's similar to the reverse process of what we had in the prior page's example. So where A may not be equal to 0, that's just the limit to this. So the method: write each numerator separately as a fraction of the denominator. So now that means in our first example here, we should say 4x squared is divided by negative 2x, as well as negative 8x is divided by negative 2x. Now we have to divide each term separately. That's all. So remember, signs, then numbers, then variables. So firstly, positive divided by negative is a negative. 4 divided by 2 for the number values is 2. And then x to the power of 2 minus the 1, special rules for variables, gives you x to the power of 1. Next term, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 8 divided by 2 for the numbers is 4. And then x divided by x is basically 1 minus 1, which is 0. And anything to the power of 0 is 1, which you really don't have to write. We just know that the x's are gone then. So the answer is just negative 2x plus 4. Okay, quite simple. If you want to pause, carry on trying the next example, and then have a look at my solution. So we split up first, and we get this. Okay, and then we divide. So like you saw previously, 20 can't divide by 6. We can just simplify it. So both divide by 2, that leaves you with 10 there, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, and then we have 10 thirds, and then the x's is 2 minus 1 again, so that's x to the power of 1, and the y's is 3 minus 2, so that's just y to the power of 1 as well. So it's 10 thirds of xy plus 18 divided by 6 is a whole number 3, and then x to the power of 3 minus 1 is x to the power of 1, and y to the power of 2 has the same denominator, y to the power of 2. So they basically eliminate, or 2 minus 2 is 0, which is anything to the power of 0 is 1, and all of this times 1, all of this times 1 remains the same. Anything times 1 remains the same. So in other words, this is the answer to this question. And then remember, when you're working with fractions as well, a negative can be written in front of the fraction, or in the numerator, or in the denominator. I want you to do Spot on Mathematics Grade 8, page Activity 8.3 on page 106. Question 1, selected questions. Question 2, question 4a only, and then question 5, the whole thing as well. Have a great day, guys.